Commander Joseph Miller took a deep breath as he stepped onto the raised platform. The massive chamber of the Galactic Council stretched before him, filled with hundreds of alien representatives. Some had tentacles, others had multiple eyes or wings, and many had skin colors that humans could barely describe. Joseph's blue uniform stood out sharply against the colorful display of alien delegates. The past week of negotiations had gone nowhere. The aliens had smiled their various smiles, nodded their various heads, and then ignored every human concern. It was the same pattern that had repeated for 20 years. "The representative from Earth may now address the Council," announced the presiding officer, a tall, thin alien with pale green skin. Joseph stepped forward. His heart beat quickly, but his face remained calm. This speech would change everything. "Honored representatives of the Galactic Alliance," Joseph began, his voice clear and strong. "For 20 years, humanity has been part of this organization. For 20 years, we have offered our help, shared our resources, and fought in your wars." A few aliens shifted uncomfortably. The humans had indeed proven themselves useful in the recent conflict with the aggressive Krell Empire. "In return, we asked for fair treatment and equal standing," Joseph continued. "Instead, we have been treated as servants. Human colonies have been denied protection. Human ships have been restricted to slow travel lanes. And 3 months ago, when the Proxima Centauri plague threatened millions of human lives, this council voted to deny us medical aid." The chamber grew quiet. The plague had been devastating. Everyone knew it. "The Sol Federation has reached a decision," Joseph said, pausing to look around the room. "The talks have failed. Humanity is walking away. As of this moment, we withdraw from the Galactic Alliance, effective immediately." The chamber erupted. Some aliens jumped to their feet, shouting in various languages. Others sat frozen in shock. A representative from the powerful Zordak species, with 6 blinking eyes and blue-scaled skin, stood up. "This is absurd," the Zordax said, his voice booming over the noise. "You cannot survive without us. Your species is primitive. Your technology comes from us. Where will you go? What will you do? This is nothing but an empty threat." Joseph didn't respond to the insult. Instead, he simply unpinned the Alliance emblem from his uniform and placed it on the speaker's podium. "Our decision is final," he said. "All human representatives, ships, and citizens will return to Sol-controlled space within the next 30 days. We wish you well." With that, he walked off the platform, ignoring the shouts and questions that followed him. Back on his ship, Joseph sat down heavily in his private quarters. The Galactic Council meeting had gone exactly as expected. Now came the hard part. His communication screen lit up, showing the face of President Samantha Wells on Earth. "It's done," Joseph said simply. Samantha nodded, her expression serious. "Operation Silent Departure is now active. All ships and colonies have received their orders. How did the Council react?" "Just as we predicted. Disbelief, anger, and dismissal. The Zordax representative called us primitive." A small, tired smile crossed Samantha's face. "Let them think that. It will make what comes next easier." On Earth, in the underground command center of New Geneva, Samantha ended the call and turned to her advisors. Maps and screens covered the walls, showing the positions of human ships and colonies throughout Alliance space. "Send the signal," she ordered. "All units begin Phase 1. Across the galaxy, human ships received the coded message. Military vessels, transport ships, research stations, and colonies all began the same procedure. Every piece of human technology was gathered. Every human citizen was loaded onto evacuation ships. Nothing useful was left behind. On the mining colony of Taurus 5, Chief Engineer Paul Rogers supervised the dismantling of human equipment. His team worked quickly, removing advanced drills and environmental systems. "Sir," one of his workers asked, "aren't we contractually required to leave the basic systems in place?" Paul shook his head. "Not anymore. The contract was with the Alliance, and we're no longer members. Besides, they never appreciated what we built for them. Let them see how they manage without us." In the medical facility on Outpost Orion, Dr. Laura Wilson packed up the specialized equipment her team had developed. The alien staff watched in growing alarm. "You cannot take the virus containment systems," protested the alien director. "We have an outbreak in Sector 7. Laura paused, sympathy crossing her face. She handed the director a datapad. "These are the instructions for maintaining the system. It's the best I can do. I'm sorry, but my orders are clear." As human ships departed their stations throughout Alliance space, they activated a new technology. The veil shield enveloped each vessel, bending light and other detection methods around them. To outside observers, the ships seemed to simply fade away, becoming invisible to both eyes and sensors. The Alliance military tried to track the departing human fleet but found nothing. It was as if humanity had simply disappeared. In his private chambers on the Zordak's homeworld, Ambassador Krelthar reviewed the reports with growing concern. The humans were gone. Not just their diplomats, but all of them. Every outpost, every colony, every single human presence in Alliance space had vanished within days. More troubling were the reports coming in about what they had taken with them. Key systems were failing across dozens of worlds. The humans had built and maintained so much infrastructure that nobody had realized how dependent the Alliance had become on them. "This is temporary," he assured his anxious aides. "They'll come, crawling back when they realize they need Alliance protection and resources." But as the days turned into weeks, there was no sign of the humans. No distress calls, no diplomatic outreach. Nothing but silence. Far away, beyond the reach of Alliance sensors, the human fleet regrouped at a predetermined location. Their ships gathered around a massive construction platform where work had secretly been underway for years. Joseph Miller stood at the viewport of his command ship, watching as the human armada assembled. Ships of all sizes moved into defensive formations around what would become humanity's new home. "Status report," he requested. His second-in-command, Lieutenant Ben Walsh, handed him a datapad. "All ships accounted for, sir. 97% of human citizens successfully evacuated. The veil shield is working perfectly. Alliance patrols have passed within kilometers of our outer ships without detecting us." Joseph nodded, satisfied. "And Project New Dawn?" "On schedule. The engineers say the first habitats will be ready within months. The resource extraction teams are already at work." Joseph looked out at the massive structure taking shape before them. Not a planet, but something far more ambitious. Humanity had been planning this move for years, quietly developing technologies the Alliance had never imagined. "The Alliance thinks we can't survive without them," Joseph said quietly. "They're about to learn how wrong they are." In the darkness of space, hidden from prying eyes, humanity began to build its future, and across Alliance space, the first whispers of fear began to spread. 5 years passed since humanity walked away from the Galactic Alliance. The stars continued their slow dance across the universe, unconcerned with the politics of the species that lived among them. Linda Hayes, now Admiral of Earth's Third Fleet, stood on the observation deck of the station named New Hope. Through the massive window, she could see the impressive results of humanity's work. What had once been empty space was now filled with interconnected habitats, shipyards, and defense platforms. The central structure, nearly complete, was larger than many moons. "Beautiful, isn't it?" asked Alan Parker, her aide and longtime friend. He had served with her since the withdrawal. Linda nodded. "Hard to believe we've done so much in 5 years." "Necessity is a powerful motivator," Alan said. "When everyone works toward the same goal, amazing things happen." Linda turned as the door slid open. A young officer entered and saluted. "Admiral, the science team requests your presence. The Prometheus Initiative has reached a new milestone." The Prometheus Initiative was humanity's most ambitious project. Hidden behind their technological barrier that made them invisible to Alliance sensors, humans had been free to develop new ideas without interference or restrictions. Linda followed, the officer through the station's corridors. People moved with purpose, their faces showing determination rather than the resignation she had seen during the Alliance years. Freedom had changed them. In the main research lab, Dr. Eric Young waited. His team stood proudly around a small device on the central table. "Admiral Hayes," Eric greeted her, barely containing his excitement. "We've done it. The engineers have successfully reverse-engineered and improved upon all Alliance technology we had access to. This prototype engine is 3 generations beyond anything the Alliance possesses." Linda picked up the device, surprisingly small for something so important. "How fast?" "Twice the speed of our fastest ships during the Alliance days," Eric said. "And with half the energy consumption." Linda smiled. "Begin production immediately. I want every ship in the fleet upgraded within 6 months." Meanwhile, across the galaxy, the Alliance was beginning to feel the effects of humanity's absence. On the planet Zareth 4, Governor Susan Collins, one of the few humans who had chosen to stay behind, watched as technicians struggled to repair the central power core. The alien workers, with their 4 arms and excellent technical minds, still couldn't understand the human design principles. The power core had been built by humans decades ago, maintained by humans, and now was failing without them. "Try bypassing the secondary cooling system," Susan suggested, though she knew her advice would be ignored. The Zarethians had grown increasingly hostile toward the few remaining humans, blaming them for the departure of their kind. "We don't need human help," snapped the lead technician. "Your people abandoned us. We will solve this ourselves." 3 hours later, the power core failed completely. The city fell into darkness. Similar scenes played out across Alliance space. Systems that humans had once maintained began to fail. Trade routes once navigated by human pilots became dangerous as void storms, strange space phenomena that humans had somehow always predicted and avoided, claimed more ships each month. In the medical centers, procedures once performed by human doctors were now impossible for many alien species to replicate. Humans had an unusual ability to make intuitive leaps in treatment that other species struggled to understand. On the Galactic Council, tension grew. The Zordak's ambassador pounded his appendage on the grand table. "It has been 5 years. 5 years of declining standards, failing technology, and growing unrest. Where are they? We need to find them." The presiding officer, a different alien now but still with the same pale green skin as his predecessor, shook his head. "Our search vessels have found nothing. It's as if they vanished into another dimension." "Did anyone anticipate how much we relied on them?" a representative from a small mining coalition asked. "My people are on the verge of economic collapse without human engineering expertise." Beyond the Alliance's borders, in the protected bubble of human space, life flourished. The massive structure visible from Linda's window was almost complete. New Eden, they called it. Humanity's first fully artificial world. Linda reviewed the reports in her office. Resources were plentiful, harvested from uninhabited systems. The population was growing, no longer restricted by Alliance birth control, policies that had been unfairly applied to humans. Most importantly, technological development was accelerating at an unprecedented rate. "The stealth ships are ready for their first mission," Alan informed her, entering the office with a data pad. "Captain Gary Nelson and the crew of the Wraith await your orders." Linda's expression turned serious. "It's time we see what's happening in Alliance space. Intelligence gathering only. They are not to be detected. The Wraith, a ship unlike anything humanity had built before, prepared for departure. Its hull absorbed rather than reflected light, and its engines left no energy trail." Captain Gary Nelson addressed his crew on the bridge. "Our mission is simple. Observe and report. We will not engage with Alliance forces under any circumstances. We are the eyes of humanity. Nothing more." Lieutenant Nancy Freeman, his second in command, studied the mission parameters. "We're visiting 6 key Alliance worlds. The first is a Krell TX mining colony. Long-range scans suggest they're having environmental issues." Gary nodded. "Let's find out how the galaxy is managing without us." The Wraith slipped away from New Eden, passing through the veil shield that protected all of human space. For the first time in 5 years, humans would see what had become of the Alliance they left behind. As the Wraith approached Alliance territory, they intercepted communications. The messages painted a clear picture of decay. Trade disputes had turned violent. Resources were becoming scarce as inefficient extraction methods replaced human techniques. 3 minor species had already gone extinct without human medical intervention during a recent plague. "They're worse off than we expected," Nancy said quietly as they watched a damaged Alliance cruiser limp toward a repair station. Gary's expression remained neutral. "Our job is to observe, not feel sorry for them. They made their choice when they treated us as tools rather than equals." As the Wraith approached the Krell-TX mining colony, their sensors detected a serious problem. The colony's environmental systems were failing. Life support would be gone in hours, killing thousands of Krell-TX workers. "Captain," Nancy said, her voice tense, "we need to do something." Gary hesitated. His orders were clear: no contact, no intervention, but watching thousands die when they could help went against everything he believed in. "Prepare for emergency intervention," he finally said. "Protocol Omega." The Wraith decloaked just long, enough to deploy emergency repair drones that fixed the critical systems. As they worked, the ship remained visible for less than 2 minutes before vanishing again. The Krell-TX were left bewildered, with only glimpses of advanced technology unlike anything they had seen before. One worker managed to capture a blurry image of the human ship before it disappeared. That image would soon spread across Alliance space, becoming the first confirmed sighting of humans in 5 years. The whispers began. Humans were out there, watching, and their technology had advanced far beyond what the Alliance could imagine. The fear that had been simmering beneath the surface began to grow. 10 years had passed since humanity walked away from the Galactic Alliance. The blurry image of the human ship Wraith had spread across every corner of Alliance space. Some called it a fake. Others claimed it was proof that humans were planning an attack. Everyone talked about it. In the chambers of the Galactic Council, representatives argued loudly. The once orderly meetings had become chaotic as the Alliance continued to struggle without human assistance. 3 more trade hubs have closed this month, announced a representative with insect-like features. Without human financial models, our economic systems are collapsing. Defense networks across the outer sectors have failed, added another. Pirates attack our ships with no fear of punishment. The Zordak's ambassador, older now but still commanding respect, raised his voice above the others. "What concerns me most are these appearances. Human ships showing up during emergencies, performing impossible rescues, then vanishing. In the past year, there have been 23 confirmed sightings." A murmur spread through the chamber. Everyone had heard the stories. A human vessel appearing just long enough to prevent a disaster, then disappearing without a trace. "They're watching us," said a small representative from a world called Belnar. "They could be anywhere, at any time. Their technology is beyond our understanding." Fear had taken root in the hearts of the Alliance members. Not just fear of human power, but fear of human intentions. What were they planning? When would they return? And what would happen when they did? Meanwhile, in human space, New Eden had become a thriving artificial world. Its rotating rings provided gravity, its fields grew food, and its centers of learning pushed human knowledge forward each day. In the Central Command building, Admiral Linda Hayes met with her top officers. A holographic display showed Alliance territory with red dots marking trouble spots. "The ghost interventions are increasing," Linda noted, looking at her officers. "I authorized emergency assistance in 5 cases last month. Our captains are calling for more." "The Alliance is falling apart faster than we expected," Alan Parker said. He had been promoted to commander after years of loyal service. "Their technology is failing and they don't have the knowledge to fix it. Should we be helping them at all?" asked General Stephen Wright, head of military operations. "They didn't help us when we needed it." Linda sighed. "We help because it's who we are, but we do it on our terms. No official contact, no sharing of technology. We save lives when necessary, but we don't solve their larger problems." She turned to look out the window at the vast structure of New Eden. "The human population has doubled since we left. Our fleet is 5 times larger, and the Prometheus initiative has exceeded all expectations. The Alliance would not recognize us now," Alan said with pride. Aboard the stealth ship Wraith, Captain Gary Nelson and Lieutenant Nancy Freeman prepared for another mission. After their first emergency intervention 5 years ago, the Wraith, had been assigned to monitor Alliance space permanently. "Where are we headed this time?" Nancy asked as they studied the star map. "Central Alliance territory," Gary replied. "The Galactic Council is holding an emergency session about the human question. We're going to listen in." The Wraith slipped undetected through Alliance security systems that once would have been considered impenetrable. Human technology had advanced so rapidly that Alliance defenses might as well have been made of paper. The ship positioned itself above the Council chambers on the Alliance capital world. Advanced sensors allowed them to see and hear everything happening inside. "They're terrified of us," Nancy observed as they listened to the Council debate. "They speak of humans like we're some kind of supernatural force." Gary nodded. "Fear can be useful. They treated us poorly because they didn't respect us. Now they respect us too much." As they monitored the meeting, alarms suddenly blared on the Wraith's bridge. "Multiple ships approaching the planet," reported the sensor officer. "They're not Alliance vessels," Gary frowned. "Identification? Krell Empire warships, they're charging weapons." The Krell Empire had been the Alliance's enemy for decades. While humanity was part of the Alliance, the Krell had been kept at bay. Without human tactical expertise and fighting spirit, the Alliance military had weakened and the Krell had noticed. "They're going to attack the Council," Nancy said in shock. "Thousands of representatives from across the galaxy are gathered there." Gary faced a difficult choice. Their orders were to observe, not engage. But this attack could destabilize the entire galaxy, leading to a war that might eventually threaten human space as well. "Battle stations," he ordered. "Prepare to break. Cover." On the planet below, the Council meeting was interrupted as emergency alarms sounded. The representatives looked around in confusion. "We are under attack," announced the presiding officer, panic in his voice. "Krell warships have bypassed our outer defenses. Evacuation protocols are active." Chaos erupted as representatives rushed toward escape routes. But the Krell ships were too close, their weapons already targeting the Council building. Then something unexpected happened. The Krell ships suddenly lost power, their engines shutting down, weapons going dark. They drifted helplessly in space. Above them appeared a ship unlike any the Alliance had ever seen. Sleek, black, and emanating power that sensors could barely measure. The human vessel Wraith had decloaked fully, revealing itself to the Alliance and the Krell alike. "This is Captain Gary Nelson of the human vessel Wraith," came a transmission broadcast on all frequencies. "The Krell ships have been neutralized. They will regain minimal power in 1 hour, enough to retreat but not to fight. I suggest you strengthen your defenses before then." On the Council floor, representatives stared at the screens showing the human ship. It was advanced beyond anything they had imagined, making their best vessels look primitive in comparison. The Zordak's ambassador stepped forward. "Captain Nelson, we thank you for your intervention. Perhaps this could be an opportunity to re-establish dialogue between our peoples." There was a long pause before Gary responded. "That is not my decision to make. I acted to prevent loss of life, nothing more. If humanity wishes to speak with the Alliance again, it will be on our terms, not yours." With that, the Wraith vanished from sensors, leaving the disabled Krell ships and the stunned Alliance behind. News of the incident spread quickly. The human ship had defeated a Krell attack force in seconds, without firing a single destructive shot. The technology involved was beyond comprehension. In private chambers across the galaxy, leaders of various species met in urgent sessions. What they had feared was confirmed. Humanity had not only survived without the Alliance, they had thrived, developing technologies that made the Alliance look primitive by comparison. And now, it seemed, humans were deciding the fate of entire civilizations with ease. The galaxy didn't just fear humanity's return anymore. It feared humanity's continued absence. Because in that absence, the balance of power had shifted in ways no one had predicted, except perhaps humanity itself. 15 years had passed since humanity walked away from the Galactic Alliance. The dramatic appearance of the human ship Wraith had changed everything. The Alliance was now in full panic mode. Ships fired on shadows. Species accused each other of hiding human allies. Human sightings became common, though most were just fear playing tricks on worried minds. In the grand meeting hall on New Eden, the human leadership gathered. The circular room had a clear dome ceiling that showed the Yao stars above. Around a large table sat the men and women who guided humanity's future. President William Foster stood at the head of the table. He had been elected 3 years ago on a platform of cautious engagement with the galaxy. "The time has come to break our silence," he said, looking at each person in turn. "The alliance is falling apart. The Krell Empire grows bolder each day. If we remain hidden, the galaxy may destabilize completely." Admiral Linda Hayes, now with gray in her hair but still sharp as ever, nodded in agreement. "Our stealth ships report increasing distress throughout Alliance space. Medical systems are failing, food production is down, and the Krell have attacked 3 more Alliance worlds since the Council incident." "Why should we care?" asked General Stephen Wright. "They didn't care when we suffered." Kate Davis, Director of Galactic Relations, spoke up. "Because isolation was never meant to be permanent. We withdrew to protect ourselves and to grow stronger. We've achieved both goals." Kate had been working for years on plans for humanity's return to galactic affairs. She was known for her strategic mind and clear vision of humanity's place in the universe. "Director Davis has prepared a message," President Foster said. "I believe it's time to send it." In her office, Kate reviewed the message one final time. The words had to be perfect, strong but not threatening, confident but not arrogant. This would be humanity's first official communication to the galaxy. In 15 years, her assistant Daniel Ward waited patiently. "The broadcast systems are ready whenever you are, Director." Kate nodded and handed him the final version. "Let's change the galaxy, Daniel." The message was prepared for transmission using technology no other species possessed. It would appear simultaneously on every communication device in the galaxy, bypassing all known security protocols. President Foster gave the final approval. "Send it." Across the vast expanse of space, on countless worlds and ships, screens suddenly activated. Communication devices turned on by themselves, and everywhere the same human face appeared. Kate Davis representing humanity after 15 years of silence. "To all galactic civilizations," she began, her voice calm and clear. 15 years ago, humanity withdrew from a relationship that devalued our people, our contributions, and our lives. We have watched as you struggled without us. We have intervened only to prevent innocent deaths. We have no desire for revenge or conquest. On thousands of worlds, beings of all shapes and sizes stopped to listen, many seeing a human face for the first time in their lives. But know this," Kate continued, her expression serious. "Humanity has grown stronger in isolation. Our technology, our understanding of the universe has advanced beyond your comprehension. We now extend an offer to establish new diplomatic relations, as equals, not subordinates. You have 30 days to respond. As proof of humanity's capabilities, for exactly 1 minute every Alliance defensive system went offline. Ships lost power, weapons deactivated, security shields failed. Then just as suddenly, everything returned to normal." The message ended, leaving a stunned galaxy in its wake. On the Alliance capital world, the Galactic Council convened an emergency session. Representatives arrived in record numbers, filling the chamber to capacity. The Zordak's ambassador, one of the few who remembered humanity from before the withdrawal, addressed the crowd. "We have no choice but to accept their offer. You all saw what they did to our defense systems. They could have destroyed us but chose not to." "How can we trust them?" shouted another representative. "They abandoned us once before." "No, the Baal," Zordak said firmly. "We abandoned them. When they needed our help during the Proxima Centauri plague, we turned our backs. Everything that has happened since was our doing." After 3 days of heated debate, the Council reached a decision. They would accept humanity's offer of renewed diplomatic relations, but some species were not pleased. The Vorlic Confederation, long jealous of human adaptability, sent secret messages to like-minded worlds. They feared human dominance and began plotting against the coming negotiations. Meanwhile, the Krell Empire saw an opportunity in the chaos. Their spies infiltrated Alliance worlds, spreading rumors that humans planned to enslave all other species. Their warships moved closer to Alliance borders, waiting for the right moment to strike. On New Eden, preparations began for the upcoming diplomatic meeting. A new space station was constructed at a neutral location, designed to host representatives from across the galaxy. Kate Davis worked tirelessly, preparing humanity's negotiation team. "We need to be firm but fair," she told her staff. "We're not seeking revenge or dominance. We want partnership, but on equal terms." President Foster visited the shipyards where human vessels were being prepared for the journey to the meeting point. The flagship, a massive vessel named Hope, would carry the human delegation. "Our ships will travel openly," he ordered. "No more hiding. Let the galaxy see what we've become." As the day of departure approached, a last-minute warning arrived from one of the stealth ships. The Krell Empire had positioned a battle fleet near the meeting location, and intelligence suggested the Vorlik Confederation was planning something as well. "Should we postpone?" asked Commander Alan Parker during the final briefing. Kate Davis shook her head. "No, if we delay now, it will appear as weakness. We proceed as planned, but not unprepared." The human fleet launched from New Eden, dropping the veil shield that had hidden humanity for 15 years. For the first time, the galaxy could see the true extent of human achievement. The fleet numbered hundreds of advanced vessels, each more powerful than anything the Alliance had ever built. At the center flew the Hope, carrying Kate Davis, who would speak for all humanity. As they traveled toward the meeting point, Alliance observation posts tracked their progress with awe and fear. The human fleet moved with precision through space, its technology clearly beyond anything seen before. On distant worlds, ordinary people watched news reports about the humans' return. Some feared what was coming, others hoped for better days ahead. All knew that the galaxy would never be the same again. The message had been delivered. Humanity had stepped back onto the galactic stage. What happened next would shape the future for all species. And somewhere in the darkness of space, the Krell and Vorlik forces waited, planning to ensure that future would be anything but peaceful. 20 years had passed since humanity walked away from the Galactic Alliance. Now, the moment of their return had arrived. The massive human ship Hope approached the newly constructed Galactic Embassy, a ring-shaped station floating in neutral space. Ships from across the galaxy surrounded it, representing hundreds of species and worlds. Inside the Hope, Kate Davis made final preparations with her diplomatic team. The stakes could not be higher. This meeting would determine if humanity rejoined galactic society as equals or if further isolation was necessary. "Remember," she told her team, "we are not here to dominate or to seek revenge. We are here to build a new future, one where all species stand on equal ground." Commander Alan Parker entered the room. "Director Davis, our sensors have confirmed what our stealth ships reported. The Krell fleet is hiding behind the third moon, and we've detected unusual energy signatures from the Vorlik ships." Kate nodded calmly. "As expected, let them make the first move. We're prepared." The Hope docked with the Galactic Embassy. As the airlock opened, Kate stepped forward, becoming the first human to officially enter Alliance space in 20 years. She wore a simple blue uniform that represented Earth's oceans and skies. The main chamber of the embassy was designed differently from the old council chambers. Instead of a hierarchical arrangement with powerful species in prominent positions, this new circular chamber placed all representatives on equal footing. Representatives from over 200 worlds waited inside. Many had never seen a human in person before. They watched with a mixture of fear, curiosity, and hope as Kate and her team took their places. The presiding officer, a tall being with silver skin, spoke first. "This historic gathering marks a new chapter in galactic relations. We welcome humanity back to the table of galactic civilization." Kate stood to address the gathering. 20 years ago, humanity withdrew not out of anger but out of necessity. We needed to find our own path, to realize our potential, without the restrictions placed upon us. We did not wish to become what we have become. We withdrew not to punish, but to protect ourselves. As she spoke, large screens displayed images of New Eden and other human achievements: clean energy systems, advanced medical technology, faster-than-light travel improvements. In doing so, we discovered our true potential. Now we offer the galaxy not domination but partnership, not subservience but mutual growth. The chamber was silent. Even those who had opposed human return were struck by Kate's sincerity and the impressive achievements displayed on the screens. Then suddenly, alarms blared throughout the station. The presiding officer received an urgent message from security. The Krell fleet has broken cover. They're approaching with weapons charged. At the same moment, several Vorlik representatives activated devices hidden in their clothing. Energy fields appeared around the embassy's key systems, cutting off communications and defensive capabilities. "This station is now under our control," announced the Vorlik leader, standing tall. "The humans will surrender their technology, or the Krell will destroy everyone here." Kate remained calm. She tapped a small device on her wrist, sending a prearranged signal to the Hope. Outside, the Krell warships closed in, their weapons targeting the defenseless embassy. They expected an easy victory, a chance to capture human technology while eliminating galactic leadership. What they didn't expect was what happened next. Throughout the sector, human ships appeared, dropping their cloaking fields. The stealth vessels that had monitored the galaxy for years revealed themselves all at once. Dozens, then hundreds of advanced ships surrounded the Krell fleet. Inside the embassy, the Vorlik energy fields suddenly failed. Their advanced technology, copied from stolen Alliance designs, was no match for human countermeasures. "I believe there's been a misunderstanding," Kate said to the stunned Vorlik leader. "We anticipated your betrayal. The question now is what happens next?" On the main screen, the Krell fleet found itself completely surrounded by human vessels. A transmission came through from the commander of the human forces. "This is Admiral Linda Hayes of the Human Federation. Your ships are targeted. Power down your weapons immediately or be disabled." The Krell commander, not believing humans could match his fleet, gave the order to fire. In that instant, the human ships activated a new technology, the Krell weapons. Fired, but the energy dissipated harmlessly against invisible shields. Then, with surgical precision, the human fleet disabled the Krell ship's engines and weapon systems without destroying a single vessel. In the embassy chamber, representatives watched in awe. The humans had neutralized both threats without taking a single life. The Zordak's ambassador, older and humbler now, approached Kate. "In all my years, I have never seen such power exercised with such restraint. 20 years ago, we failed to recognize what humanity truly offered our galaxy. I was among those who dismissed you." He bowed his head in respect. "I was wrong. We all were." Kate offered her hand in the human gesture of peace. "The past is behind us. Today, we look to the future." In the days that followed, a new agreement was forged. The Galactic Alliance was dissolved, replaced by the Galactic Cooperative. Unlike the old alliance, the Cooperative placed all species on equal footing, with leadership rotating between worlds. The Krell prisoners were returned to their empire with a clear message: the era of conquest was over. The Vorliks, embarrassed by their failed plot, agreed to join the Cooperative under strict oversight. 1 month later, on the newly renamed Unity Station, Frank Martinez took office as Earth's first ambassador to the Galactic Cooperative. The circular chamber was filled with representatives from across the galaxy. "Humanity did not choose isolation," Frank began his address. "It was forced upon us by circumstances. In our time apart, we have grown, we have learned. And now, we return not as the same humans who left, but as a wiser, more capable people ready to help build a better galaxy for all." Beyond the diplomatic chambers, human ships maintained their vigilant watch. Earth had learned its lesson. Never again would they allow themselves to be vulnerable. The galaxy had learned its lesson too. Humanity, when pushed away, doesn't fade into obscurity. It returns as a force to be reckoned with. But now that force would be used to protect and unite, not to conquer or control. As Frank concluded his speech, representatives from hundreds of worlds rose in applause. A new era had begun, one where humanity's strength would help lift all species to greater heights. The galaxy no longer feared humanity's power. Instead, it welcomed the return of a species that had proven itself both mighty and merciful. The Eater talks had failed 20 years ago, but now new conversations had begun, and this time all voices would be heard.